first 2 or 3 months might be more like it, but. Right on.
Well, both of them are coming from a county where it's very busy. Growing is very busy.
They just don't pay well enough.
No. Right. All right. I'd like to call the meeting to order for the Nisswa Planning Commission Board of Adjustment for Tuesday, October 1st, 2024. Roll call, please.
Danny Mendel.
Sean Weldon.
Josh Young.
Gary Harris.
Dave Reese.
Maggie Wentler.
Stephen Timblin.
Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
No.
Being none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Next, to approve the meeting minutes for September 3rd, 2024. Are there any additions or deletions to those minutes?
None.
Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. All right, next item is an open forum. Is there anyone not want to speak towards something not on the agenda this evening? Joe.
Good evening. I'm here to talk on behalf of property with an address of 25197 Hazelwood Drive, the Peterson property. Last month, you guys had gone through a variance process with them to, I believe, give them a variance for septic into another building there. And one of the requirements was to move a little shed on the property. And the deadline was sometime this week, correct, to take action on getting that building moved. I'm here just to ask to push it off one more month. During this process, we've been working on it, getting survey work done. The permit that was issued on this property in the springtime by Bethany also kind of contradicts some of the stuff going out there in the stormwater plan. And so we've met on site with Steve to kind of go over this stuff. And so I'm just asking to push off any sort of regulation this month to allow for additional work to be done with surveying and whatnot that we need to do on the property to get everything in order. And then we will come back for an additional variance in November. So
Yeah, so as I understand it too, the option that the landowner would like to do is to leave the shed in its current location. So triggering a survey to find out exactly how far away it would be from the road right away to come forward for a variance. And it might be possible that there's additional asks for features relative to a shoreline alteration permit. So bringing it through one hearing. And I think that they are looking to be on the December Planning Commission meeting. So applying by the deadline for that meeting.
Okay. In terms of wanting to set that back a month for that requirement for the shed, what's
My opinion on, I think it's, viable. They have been coming forward in good faith and working towards a proposal for it. They did look at costs to move the shed and damage that would be done to the shore for grading and dirt moving and stuff. So I think it's feasible to entertain it for another month.
okay? So you just need a motion to approve. Is that what you're asking for?
Correct.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I don't have the numbers or anything, the dates or the address, but I would assume Maggie can fill that in, so. I'd move approval to extend for an extension until when?
Maybe it was a month.
30 days?
November.
90 days or?
30 days, I would
30
say the
days.
deadline for the planning commission meeting of,
Okay.
in December, which I believe would be the 7th of November. 6th. Okay, thank you, Jenny.
I'll second Gary's motion.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries.
Sounds good. Thanks.
there anyone else? All right,
Nope. No, I just saw her get up.
Okay. Moving on to public hearings, I'll entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
So move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. All right. First item is variance application 022-24 to obtain a variance for the construction of a sign exceeding dimensional standards within the central business district. The subject property is located at 5445 City Hall Street, PID 281-10754. Owner applicant Brandon Headland. Is Brandon here? No. Okay, he will not be here this evening, I'm assuming. All right, your staff report.
So this would be a request for a variance from the ordinance section 20-509 for minimum sign standard requirements for the construction of a 60 square foot, 13-foot tall sign in the commercial business district, where the maximum allowed is 32 square feet at 12 feet tall. This sign would be consistent of 6 tenant panels measuring 12 inches by 63 inches, and the proposal would be to illuminate it by downcast light. The Central Business District Design Standards table at the bottom of page 4 starts off to talk about the amount of freestanding signs. This would be the removal of the one that's currently existing out on the street and construction of one. Downcast light is allowed without a variance. So in this case, the only thing that we would be asking for a variance to is the dimensional standards from 32 square feet maximum to 60 square feet and 13 feet tall, where 12 feet would be the max.
If you'd like to make public comment regarding this project, please step towards the podium and state your name and address. Seeing none, I will close public comments. Commissioner member comments. Do we have any questions?
I assume this sign, the new sign is going in the same place as the old one. You're replacing it, is that correct?
That is my understanding.
Because there's nothing, I couldn't find anything in the packet that shows a location for it, so.
So they had a survey exemption when they applied for it, signed by the previous city planner on 8/8/24. So the survey requirement was waived. It would be required to meet the setback and be on the property, not within the road right away, however.
No, I saw that, but there was no just maps or, any sketches at all of where the sign was. This picture of the sign,
That was an example
that's
sign.
just an
provided by
example,
the-
that's on another site, so it's, okay. But it does go in same location as the other, as
location,
long as it's on the
correct.
property.
Correct.
Okay.
In their application, they made a note that historically, if you look around the city, there is some other signage that is over the 32 square feet. I didn't get a chance to look around. Do you know which ones he was referencing?
I think they noted that one next door is.
Okay,
There is one to the east of theirs right now that is significantly taller than the dimensional standard of 12 feet.
Have there been any comments on the request from adjoining properties in there or not?
I have received none.
Okay. One
Sean
thing
or
I
Danny, do you have
noticed
any
is that-
questions about it?
No.
One thing I noticed is that the building's got a lot of windows and doors on it. There isn't much of a place on the building to be adding signage to it, so. I guess I can see the reason for it, but.
Yeah. How many I'm unaware, how many tenants are in that space, do you know?
I'm not sure how many tenants are in there, but there would be a total of 6 panels proposed on this.
Assuming 6, okay.
Yeah.
says, you know, we have to go through these questions on the variance. As you all have scanned through this, before we start, is there any of these questions that you would say no to before we kind of start going down the list?
No.
No. John?
Do you have anything, any objections, to any? Okay.
Well, let's go down the list then and we'll start. So is the variance in harmony with the purpose and intent of the ordinance and comprehensive plan? What do you all say?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
We need a reason.
we need a reason. Yeah.
This is central business, this is central business district, retail and office space. And office facility with multiple rental spaces. And the signage is necessary and I can't see putting on the building, so. So I think it's necessary to improve the recognition in the urban area.
Number two is the property owner proposing to use the property in a reasonable manner not permitted by the city code of ordinances.
They are. Yes.
Yes, I would say we could probably kitty back on what was just stated, that there's not a lot of available space for signage on the structure as it is.
Mhm.
Number three is a need for the variance due to circumstances unique to the property not created by the property owner.
Is,
I would say yes again. As we already alluded to, the ability to put signage and then have enough space for the tenants to advertise effectively for the public to see them.
yes,
Yes. Agree.
Four, will the issue of a variance maintain the essential character of the locality? I would say yes, from the drawings that he submitted, it looks like it will be a nice addition. And match kind of the
Yes.
surrounding areas. Five, does the need for the variance involve more than economic considerations? Again, yes, for all the topics that we had talked about previously with the other questions.
the organized, and I think the identity of the space is important in that area, so.
Any additional discussion?
None.
None.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries.
Who made the motion?
Nobody.
Nobody.
Gary made the motion.
We were just talking about the 6 questions.
Oh,
Well, we were.
All right. You want me to make a motion? Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the variance for the construction of a sign exceeding dimensional standards within the central business district. Subject property is located at 5445 City Hall Street, PID 281-10754. And the applicant owner is Brandon Headland. Second.
Would you like to include the conditions that the staff recommended or add any additional ones?
Yeah, we should probably have those staff recommendations included. Or staff conditions. Yep, potential conditions. Would you like me to read off the 4? No, okay. Just the 4. Second.
Sean, second. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Next item is variance application 023-24 to obtain a variance to permit building a new 3,923 square foot dwelling, meeting all the setbacks without the removal of reduction below a 700 square foot of an existing non-conforming dwelling of 1,359 square feet within the Shoreline Residential District, existing non-conforming dwelling at 83 feet from the ordinary high water mark where 150 is required. The subject property is located at 6385 Clark Lake Road, PID 281-30589. Applicant owner Peg Fershong and Stephen Petrich. Peg? You can go to the desk here and make sure, I'm not sure if the microphone is on. There's a little push button on the front.
The light's green.
It's on, okay. And then state your name and address.
Peg Fershon, 6385 Clark Lake Road.
Thank you. Steve, your report.
Thank you. So the proposed again is the construction of a new principal dwelling as shown on survey. This would be a dwelling larger than 700 square feet on a riparian lot and typically would involve the removal of a non-conforming structure to bring this property into conformity with our code of ordinances. The removal of this existing structure would require safeguards for erosion until soil stabilization occurs and would be typical in demolition or soil disturbance on a riparian lot proximal to wetlands. This would be an economic consideration in my analysis. The distance to the ordinary high water elevation per the survey dated 12/7 of 23 is 83 feet. The wetlands delineated by Ben Meister from Meister Environmental LLC on 9/16/23 have been shown on the survey dated 12/7/23 and is very near to the OHW closest to the structure. There is a proposed new septic system that would service both of these structures, both the existing dwelling and the new proposed dwelling. The existing septic tank is within the building setback and would need to be sufficiently abandoned per Minnesota Rule 7080/2500. The proposed new principal structure does meet all setbacks. The construction of a second dwelling unit on the property would require a no maintenance shoreline buffer near the shore. This is a natural environment lake, and in my site visit, there was a thorough buffer already in place of vegetation on the property. I did include a couple excerpts from the ordinance, such as the definition of a guest cabin versus guest quarters. A guest cabin would have a maximum height of 15 feet in building height. And I also included the definition of a building height as this existing structure is a walkout example. So we would be looking at 15-foot height max from the lowest adjacent grade to either side of the contours. And that would be my analysis. The DNR also did provide comment at the end of this staff report, which I included.
So the 15 feet's got to be from the walkout level?
So building height is defined as mid-peak on an angled roof like this. When there's a walkout, you have 10 feet or less for difference from that grade to the bottom level of the walkout. The slope on this property, there's probably 6, 7, 8 feet. So that the 10 feet is negligible. We would just be looking at lowest adjacent grade on either side to mid-peak. Talking to Peg at application intake, she said that they might be looking at doing some roof work in the future and advised on that analysis that we would be needing to keep that mid-peak beneath that 15-foot if that were the case.
Peg, you want to briefly decide the proposal?
Sure. So my husband and I have owned this property since 2006. And we would like to move up here full time. But the property as it exists isn't something that we can age out in. And so we got our survey and building envelope is really small, which is what it is, I guess. So the home that we want to build is all one level so that we don't have to deal with stairs, and we're adding a garage. That's what a considerable amount of the square footage is. The actual living space is pretty similar to the one level is of the current structure. And we only want to have a master bedroom and guest bedroom and be able to have our family. We have children with families of their own come visit and stay in the guest quarters when they come visit. And when we initially started doing this, we weren't sure there was going to be enough space in the building envelope. So we did approach our neighbors to see if it'd be possible to purchase some additional acreage, but that did not work with their plan. And so we went ahead and met with the architect, and this is what they came up with. And we thought we would pursue the process. We do have a builder that would like to start building in the spring when the snow or the frost line comes out, and we could move forward so that we can be up here within about a year and a half is what we're planning.
All right. If there's anyone that'd like to make public comment towards this application, this is your opportunity. Hearing none, I'll close public comments. Commissioner members, do we have any questions for Peg? You do, we have somebody. I'll have you come to the podium and make sure the little green light's on and state your name and address.
Yeah, good evening. My name is Dwayne Blank. My wife's name is Carolyn. We happen to own the property surrounding Steve and Peg's property. We also have some property down the lake shore that was formerly tax forfeited, and we purchased during the tax forfeit sale, which was classified by the county as buildable and different zoning classification. So it's kind of in limbo if we can do much of anything. So we appreciate the process that Steve and Peg have gone through. One area that we thought was a little deficient is the buffer requirement, in which the report says that there's significant vegetation growth for the buffer zone, mentioning trees in particular. Well, all of those trees happen to be on our property, not on their property, causing or providing the buffer. And maybe just back up a little bit. We purchased the property to begin with one parcel. And you may be familiar with the property's history in that it was platted as the town site of Borzak, or the town of Borzak. And over the years, the plat has been vacated. And we ended up with a significant part of it. Over the years, as property became available, we added to the original amount that we had purchased. I think in 1970, we've been around the area a long time. So that was one concern for us. And of course, variances can snowball, and we thought maybe it will snowball our direction as they have worked on satisfying the variance, or excuse me, satisfying the comprehensive plan and the zoning ordinance. We'll have to do the same, as we have acquired the property for long-term security. If we need funds that we'll be able to draw on the investment we've made over the years in terms of the property. And so we happen to be looking at what's the highest and best use of our property as well. And we did visit with Steve and Peg about that. The negative issue for us is the statement about buffer zone. That buffer zone should be on their property, or we have some sort of collaborative effort to improve it. The trees that are there now that are on the property line, I planted over the years. And so they're not just simply a natural growth, but an effort to mark the boundary of the property as well as to provide a buffer of some sort as well. It's always interesting, you know, what a yard light distraction that becomes distraction in that you know, you see it through the trees and whatnot, and so that's our concern if we have any real substantive term. We would hope that they can meet as much of the ordinance requirements as absolutely possible. We've not studied their request for a variance, but the one number that sticks in my mind is the 83-foot setback in lieu of satisfying the ordinance requirement of 150 feet. But anyway, we wanted to register, I guess, our concern. We support them in utilizing their property as long as they can satisfy as much as possible all of the ordinance requirements, because I know we're going to be faced with that as well. Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question. So on the GIS map there, your property is to the north, or I guess northwest, is that?
If I understand, Dwayne, is your property over here?
That's all sides of the.
Also, okay.
And so the shoreline buffer, as would be implemented by this document, the shoreline rapid assessment model would be on that portion of shoreline owned by the applicant if a guest quarters is present. So the entire extent from a riparian shoreline from this corner here to this corner,
Yeah.
being implemented in perpetuity on the ask. So the trees that I witnessed on my onsite were these ones here. The ones on the applicant's shoreline.
So when we're talking about the buffer strip specifically, it's about the OHW from the water, not necessarily from your property line.
Correct.
Yeah, and the buffer for the land itself is at the top of the picture there as such. There is significant vegetation associated with a dying beta of water that cattail growth and the likes of that has continued to creep outwardly, so it's become a wider strip and provides a much better buffer today than it did 50 years ago.
Okay. Yeah.
I think there's a couple of other pictures that are more telltale in terms of the property lines and the trees that exist today.
Yeah, thank you. And no more questions?
No questions.
Okay.
My name's Sandy Potoff and I'm at 6053 Shady Acres Court. And I just had a question in terms of if a variance is granted, is there anything that can keep the this current building from becoming an Airbnb or rented out, or, you know, the plans are to have the family come, but once you say, sure, go forward with the variance, then can that be treated as something that can be rented out, used as an Airbnb? That was really my question.
Pulling up our ordinances here. So on the screen here, if I can get the zooming to cooperate with me here. Definition for dwelling / guest cabin means a freestanding structure not for sale or lease that contains sleeping spaces and functioning bathroom facilities in addition to those provided in the primary dwelling on the lot. A guest cabin shall not be permitted if guest quarters exist on the lot.
Does that answer your question? Okay. All right, commissioner member comments. Do we have any questions?
I only had one on, you're gonna modify the existing building with different siding and to match the new building, so they both
Correct.
would be the same style and they blend in better together.
Right, and we did talk to Steve because we weren't sure, when they we would put a new roof on it as well. And they might want to increase the pitch just slightly because there's not much of a slope and the snow builds up. So they might want to raise it, I don't know, 10 inches maybe at the most. The contractor will have to figure that out and he's already spoken to us about the maximum height. So if we run into a problem, we would come and talk to him before we did anything, but the contractor thinks he can stay underneath that.
The 15 feet,
Mhm.
as long as you're aware of what the restriction is, so. You're gonna have very little tree destruction, or that appears you're just gonna move some existing smaller apple trees or something like that. I believe.
Correct. So where the new septic system is, it's right where our apple trees are, so
Right.
those will have to be moved and the
Okay.
bushes there. But we did plant some red pines kind of over by our fence line, and we probably will move those out, but they'll stay on the property. We'll just relocate them on the property.
Okay,
I also like to add that on my site visit, the new septic system will be further away from the OHW than the old one.
Right, it will be in the building envelope, so we are remedying that situation, and it'll be a shared septic. We'll decommission the old one. We have to move the well as a result, because the current well is right where the new septic is gonna go, so they're gonna move the well back behind the new structure.
okay, got your bases covered.
Okay, any other questions?
We acknowledge the DNR comment submitted on Monday, September 30th.
Dave, do you have any questions? Okay. All right, so we're gonna go through the same questions as we go through here. Number one, is the variance in harmony with the purpose and intent of the ordinance and comprehensive plan? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Why is it,
And residential zoning allows for this type of variance in residence that's been applied for.
two, is a property owner proposing to use the property in a reasonable manner not permitted by the city Nisswa Court of Ordinances, yes or no?
Yes, it sounds like
Yes.
it's gonna be family use.
Great.
Three, is the need for the variance due to circumstances unique to the property not created by the property owner, yes or no? I would say yes again, it's an odd shape. And there's an existing structure on there. Number four, will the issuance of a variance maintain the essential character of the locality?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, property, it's unique and the building will continue to be unique and fit in with the neighboring homes. There's very few neighboring homes there, so Mr. Blank and probably the nearest neighbor, so.
And you will be improving the older cabin to match the new build, so.
Yes.
Does the need for the variance involve more than economic considerations, yes or no? I would say yes, again, it has
Yes.
it's to do with the shape and the existing buildings that are present. And six, any other pertinent findings? I do not know of one. So after we go through those questions, we all answered yes. Does anyone want to make a motion?
I'd move to approve the variance application 023-24 to obtain a variance to permit a building of a new 3923 square foot dwelling, meeting all the setbacks and without the removal or reduction below the 700 square feet of the existing 1,359 square foot building. And according to the conditions of the city staff report and the conditions therein. Is there a DNR?
One,
report
yeah,
on
one
this
question on that. So we have the buffer, the shoreline vegetation buffer strip, and I think when Jake wrote in his letter, did he specify a distance, like a length? Because it's kind of generic.
No, so there is not a generic one. It comes down to a analysis of the shoreline. So there's 3 scoring areas: shoreline, whether it's eroding or not. If it's eroding or unstable, it starts off with a negative already. Then we look at SIZ1 and SIZ2, so the first 75 feet and the second 75 feet for ground cover, as well as trees and shrub cover, coming up with a score that determines the distance of the normal buffer that should be implemented.
Okay, so we're going to be using the rapid assessment model.
Correct.
The staff will. Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Good luck with your project. Next item is variance application 024-24 to obtain a variance to permit a second access of a 5-foot width to the shore to facilitate motorized access to the staircase landing near the base of the steep slope. Property zoned open space residential district, subject property located at 4293 Roy Lake Drive, PAD 281-00627, owner applicant George Lamb. Did I say that right, Lehan? Lehan. George, if you'd like to come to the desk there and state your name and address.
Good evening.
Good evening.
George Lehan, 4293 Roy Lake Drive.
Thank you. Stephen, your staff report.
Thank you. So the proposal here is to repair a pre-existing walkway that goes down to the lake. There is a staircase alongside a guest quarters located about here on the property, and I can show you that in the picture as well. So this is the existing staircase, also shown in image number 2, and a meandering pathway that comes through the heavily wooded steep slope that has been experiencing some erosion that I was able to capture in a picture there. George came forward with a request to amend this slope due to the erosion, wondered how to fix it, upon which we discovered that there's already a walkway down there. So issuance at the staff level of a amendment or repair to a second walkway without a variance that was pre-existing when George acquired this property was discovered. So moving forward to propose by the applicant that a 5-foot wide walkway or motorized access to the staircase located about 25 feet from the OHW at the bottom of this slope. I was standing at where that motorized vehicle would stop typically, is presented. Bluff and steep slope vegetation standards are stated in section 20-134. Talking about removal of trees in a steep slope being limited to dead, down, or dying diseased trees. Talked to the applicant about the notion of a lift that would go alongside the existing staircase or removal of the staircase. He posed that that would involve removal of those healthy trees, and that is the proposal for that. Dirt moving standards are stated in section 20-135. That would be limited to shoreline alteration permit for purpose of a walkway creation. It also does state that under section 20-135 2C, private roads and driveways must meet the structure setback. So this would be a motorized access that is within that setback. The section 20-141 is the standards for stairways, walkways, lifts and landings. Stating that there shall be no more than one. Under item number 3, only one stairway or walkway shall be allowed within the shore or bluff impact zone. They shall not divert in more than one direction. So the switchback being another element of that, going through a steep slope for his access to this lake body. And final bullet point in my analysis was that this pathway was pre-existing. An applicant did come forward in good faith due to washout occurring and erosion occurring on site that he's trying to fix and prevent, so.
Okay. George, you want to give us a brief overview of the project you're proposing?
Well, I've got this trail going down to the lake. And basically washouts haven't been too much of an issue until this year. And I just have come up with a way to improve the drainage on it. We feel, get rid of the washout down there. It's a trail that's been there since we bought the place. And just want to improve it. It's not going to change, location or anything. It's going to just improve what is there.
And George, unfortunately for you, everybody in the crowd is now left, so we have nobody to have a public comment. So I'll open and close, unless Jenny wants to say something, then, I'm sorry, then we have nobody else.
Here to complain.
All right, commissioner member comments, do we have any questions for him?
No, I live about 4 doors down from you. I thought you were here to talk about erosion on our road, but
I'll talk to you about this.
yeah, we'll just keep talking. Nothing will get resolved. Beside the point. See what you're trying to do makes sense.
And just to clarify it, you're planning on, you're gonna try to pave the upper portion of the trail where it comes down and makes an elbow with a little bit of a softening of that curve. You're gonna pave down to that point, which would be, majority of it would be beyond the 75-foot.
Yes,
Oh,
the majority
setback
would
from the
be
OHW.
between 70 and about 110 feet.
Yeah.
And then a little bit around the radius around the curve.
Understand. That's where most of the erosion is up in the top.
Pardon me?
I say that's where most of the erosion this year is up,
Well,
the top portion of that. So,
it's all along the top. Yes, from the
Yeah,
top. Yeah.
yeah.
Dave, do you have any thoughts?
I was just wondering about hard surfacing and where that was being proposed. What's the plan for that point going the rest of the slope down?
Pardon me? And
What is your plan from where the paving would stop?
from where the paving stops to,
All the way down the rest of the way,
it'll be the same thing, probably crushed granite.
crushed granite?
Yeah. Yeah, but there, hopefully the way we're looking at, there won't be much water washing down it. Just,
Okay.
we'll have the water carted off, diverted before that.
Okay, well, crushed granite is a good material, so it helps. It interlocks with
Mhm.
all of the crushed material. It's a lot better than the rounded,
It's great stuff.
so.
Yeah, it's got some body to it. Yeah. All right, since we have no more questions, we'll go through our questions again for the variance and then we'll work our way through it. So number 1, is the variance in harmony with the purpose and intent of the ordinance and comprehensive plan? I would say yes. Yes, why? Well, you need access, so you're wanting access. You want to be able to access your own property, so.
Right.
And it will control the erosion a little bit better than what
Right.
he's got right now.
And it's gonna be an improvement on that. 2, is the property owner proposing to use the property in a reasonable manner not permitted by the city court of ordinances?
Yes.
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 It only provides access to that limited area of the shoreland area, so it improves the access by fixing this up and allowing it.
3 is the need for the variance due to circumstances unique to the property not created by the property owner. Again, yes, that pathway was existing.
Yes.
4, will the issue of the variance maintain the essential character of the locality? I would again say yes.
Yes.
It would be an improvement as we're fixing the erosion issue at the same time
Mhm.
as doing the project. So 5, does the need for the variance involve more than economic considerations? Again, yes, there is a steep slope present that the property owner has to mitigate.
It gives them the useful access to the property, so.
All right, hearing all that, can I entertain a motion?
Can make a motion. Make a motion. For variance application 024-24 to obtain a variance. For permit to access, second access of 5 feet width to the shore. Facilitate motorized access to the staircase landing near the base of the steep slope. Property is located at 4293 Roy Lake Drive. Applicant is George Lehan. Was there?
And then 3 conditions.
Along with the 3 conditions, construction shall be substantial. Conformance with presented plan, deviation from the presented plan will require modified approval by the planning commission. A stormwater management plan must be submitted at the same time with the application for shoreline alteration permit. And number 3, present vegetative buffer of at least 20 feet must be maintained to perpetuity between the ordinary high water mark and the proposed ramp to facilitate screening and vegetative mitigation. You'll be given this stuff, so you.
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, motion carries. Thank you, sir. Good luck on the project.
Yeah, that's you got a little piece of heaven out there, so.
Yeah, that's a great piece of property.
I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Moving on to new business.
So we are looking at coordinating with Chris Pence again, who had assisted in previous ordinance revisions of chapter 20. Looking to bring items into compliance such as FEMA floodplain standards, reanalyze SSTS lot line setbacks and others. Clean up some of the definitions and do some general housekeeping in the ordinance. Chris did submit a proposal here. Illustrating short-term updates, some of the top priority updates, such as cannabis, which is coming right around the corner, January 1st. Getting an ordinance in place and coordinating with him to assist us in the creation of that. Long-term updates would include revisions and updates to the land use table, definitions, the subdivision section of our ordinance, the future status of the PDD district, and a zoning map update. Proposed cost for this would be $7,500 as presented. Looking to have a timeline so that it is presented to the Planning and Zoning Board at the December 2024 meeting. So we are ready to hit the ground on January 1st.
Can you allude to why the FEMA flood plan and the STS lot lines are kind of a priority?
Sure. So FEMA, I believe, was a DNR requirement that we shore up on our floodplain section of our ordinance. The SSTS aspect of the ordinance revision would be to bring the restrictions down to code to reflect 70-80 to a 10-foot side yard setback across all districts, where currently our table 20-18 under section 2090 of our ordinance illustrates various setbacks depending on where the septic professional is standing and creating a design. It would simplify it and make it a little less restrictive, more in line for standard across, you know, city, county, what people are familiar with. And in the process of issuance of a permit for something that was hugging a lot line like that, I would require, you know, illustration of where that lot line is anyway. So more restrictive standards, unless you guys can, you know, maybe provide any light as to intent for the 20, 15, 30, 25, depending on where we are. We'd entertain that, but looking for a recommendation to change that on the short term, as I'm looking at a couple permits that are, you know, needing a variance otherwise, so.
Okay, so we have the proposal here, and what we need is a motion to submit the proposal, or what do we?
For the Chris Pence aspect.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Do we have any questions about, did everybody have a chance to look at what the proposal is and the cost?
Yeah.
Okay,
Or just to make a recommendation to the council to accept this, is
Right.
that correct?
that's right. Well, I'll entertain a motion if there's no questions.
So I'll make a motion to present the chapter 20 Code of Ordinance revision discussion. The bid, I guess is that what we call it? A bid and estimate to make the changes. Present that to the council for approval. Is that good enough, or do we need to keep going?
No,
I think that
that's
was,
sufficient. And do we have a second?
Thank you, we'll figure it out.
He's writing, so it must be good.
Okay.
Do I have a second?
Second.
He's first.
Sean's first. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed, motion carries.
Danny seconded.
Old business, we have none. City planners report.
for October 2024, there were 6 permits issued. Well, sorry, for September 2024 for the report in October. Couple more that didn't make this list. The state data was good through 8/26. Like 9/26, like that. Of this last month, and I've had a couple more permits come in the door for more development, new houses and decks, things like that.
Housing permits are few and far between these days.
Yes.
See what happens after the election, I guess.
Yeah. All right, any other questions, comments? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
As opposed, motion carries, meeting is adjourned.